if it's not a good fit for them budget wise, then they can, so many other people out here they can work with, but then I've had people come back to the table and say, okay, so we found some money.
I was about to say, we found some money. Oh, weird. Look at that. Welcome to the brndBrief podcast, where we discuss the latest trends on the business side of fashion, beauty, lifestyle brands, and the impact of technology on driving brand growth. This podcast is powered by Brand Method Media Group, and I'm your host, Kelly Kelly. Today's guest is Erika Ward, CEO and Principal Interior Designer of Erika Ward Interiors, an Atlanta interior design firm specializing in new builds, large-scale renovations, and decorating projects. Welcome to the show, Erika.
Hey, Kelly. I'm so excited to be here. And, we're longtime friends in this thing too. So it's nice to be have a formal platform where I can speak with you and your audience, of course.
I know. I love it. I was reflecting on our relationship that spans so long before you started your interior design firm. And I just always remember when we first met, I was like, gosh, she's good at everything. You were telling me your work history. I was like, she can do literally anything. That's so incredible. But to give the listeners an idea, let's kind of go back to the beginning. What was the inspiration behind launching Erika Ward Interiors?
Yeah, sure. So I've always been enamored with just design in general. My grandfather was an architect, so he was kind of my first teacher, if you will. And he was the one that encouraged me to actually be an accountant or study finance, which I did. For the most part, I did what I was told growing up. He was a very smart man, so I knew he knew what he was talking about. But at any rate, so I actually went into university studying finance, and that's what my degree is in. But I actually went to work in corporate in building construction. So I still kind of made my way back into the design arena. So after, a few years in corporate, and really both by desire and by necessity, I kind of launched out on my own in the interior design space, but first in the consulting space. Then later on, as my kids got older and I got more capabilities and more time, I started doing more full service work. But yeah.
Amazing. And I know that obviously any look on social media, but I know personally knowing you, you have a very strong personal brand. So your journey as a designer and entrepreneur, how have you cultivated and evolved your personal brand over the years? And how does it align with the ethos of Erika Ward Interiors?
Excellent question. My personal brand is really a lifestyle brand. Of course, it's how we live in our spaces. It's how we now work in our spaces. The pandemic definitely shaped home to be so many different things to so many different people. And a lot of my clientele really mimic my own family style. And so I share as much as I feel comfortable with, which has been quite a bit, about my own personal journey, my family, and my work. So then when people come to me looking for assistance in completing their spaces, they already kind of feel like they know me and that I understand what their individual challenges are, or struggle, if you will. They feel like I'm one of them, which I am. And I think that allows me to really anticipate some of their needs, kind of know what they're saying without them saying it all, because I kind of understand what challenges that they're facing. And so how that relates back to us, we want to make home feel like a sanctuary. And as you know, it's kind of crazy out there, but we don't want to feel that we're bringing that stress to our home spaces. And we want home to be a place where we can reconnect with our family, replenish our souls. And I feel deeply about your home being a space that is representative of the hard work that you put in out there. It's like I want you to be able to see the fruits of your labor when you come home. And that looks different for everybody, right? But I get to know what that looks like for you, during our interview process.
Yeah, that's incredible. I know, the content you put out is so seamless and it's so authentic. I'm guessing that's part of what resonates with a lot of people. It doesn't feel like you sit down and plan out to the T necessarily, like every single thing that you're going to post on your personal channels. It just seems like super authentic. Is that intentional? Or I shouldn't say intentional. Do you just let it flow, or do you have like a loose outline of how you manage your personal brand, or how does that work?
Not really. It's been very organic, and I can't say that's the way to go for everybody. It's just the way to go for me. And if I'm the one, which I am, managing my social channels, I have to still enjoy it, and it can't become a chore, if you will. When I did do a lot of deep planning, it started to feel a little bit more stressful than I wanted it to feel. A lot of my client base is referrals. So I don't rely a whole lot on social media, but I like it to be there. So if somebody's kind of doing, their due diligence in the wee hours of the morning, they can just kind of find out where I am in all these different spaces until they can call me in the morning to schedule an appointment.
Right? No, I
Yeah.
mean, that's a good point. And that's one
Mhm,
of the things that we share with our clients is that, social is not the end all be all. It's not the
mhm,
silver bullet, but it is a great addition to the customer journey because that's like a natural reaction we all have
mhm.
regardless of what we're buying. Certainly something as important as an interior design project, but even
Right.
small things. I want to know what they're like. And the quickest way to do that is to go on Instagram or LinkedIn or,
Mhm,
even just to get a glimpse of the brand. I find myself personally preferring, and I'm guessing that some of these brands will figure out where the disconnect is when it comes to fashion brands. I prefer Instagram to see more realistic stuff than the actual website. I mean, I'm going to purchase from the website, but
mhm,
the highly produced shoot on
mhm.
the website just
Yeah.
doesn't really cut it for me as much as like, some of the more creative stuff on Instagram.
I would agree with that too. And I think that lends itself, at least in my space, for like the behind the scenes content, like the stuff that you typically won't see on our website, unless, of course, I've written a blog post about it. You may see some behind the scenes there. But, again, to your point, it allows you to see, I guess, a more holistic view of a brand. And, to my point before, it's like you can share as much or as little as you want or that you feel comfortable with. And once you get comfortable, I think you feel more, or the person who's looking at your feed gets a better sense of your authenticity. Your
Authenticity.
authenticity. You can keep that.
Of
Yes.
course. So I
Hmm.
know you mentioned that most of your clients come through referral, but
Yeah.
are there any standout marketing initiatives that you all like, even outside of social? I know that
Mhm.
you participate in panels, you participate in a lot of things. Are there certain standout marketing initiatives that you guys engage in that you find to be supportive of brand growth?
Oh, absolutely. So it depends on the audience, right? So I have relationships with other businesses, right? The vendors that I purchase from, do business with in general. And then I also have the consumers, my potential clients. Now, my potential clients aren't the audience that's in front of me when I'm speaking on a panel or from doing a keynote. Typically those are fellow designers or there are other brands in the audience. And so that really helps when it comes to, maybe negotiating in the brand ambassadorship space. And that gives me some visibility there. But I found that blogging, and I don't care what anybody says, blogging will never die. And blogging is not dead. But even I used to blog so much in that. I
I
don't
was
know,
just about to
the
say
first
you
one, like
yes, I was about to
yeah.
say you were the first person to tell me about blogging. I didn't even know that that's how long we've been down, okay? I didn't even know that was a thing. And
Yeah.
you had this beautiful blog, and I remember I used to look at it often. And this is before it got so big.
Mhm.
And you still blog today.
Yeah, I do. Not nearly as much as I used to, but I do plan on getting back into it, like doing it more. But what I was going to say about blogging specifically is that even if a person hired someone else to write a blog post, or if they've written one themselves at least once a week, I've always said that puts 52 new links back to your website out there for Google, Bing, whatever your search engine preference is, and it makes you searchable. And if even a potential client can find you, a brand potentially can find you, and then other like magazines find me that way. And then I get pegged for interviews that way because I'm already talking about the thing that they're reporting on. And they've also seen what my viewpoint is because they read my blog, they looked at my portfolio, they found me on social. So it's just kind of like a natural thing for them to then reach out to me and know that I'm going to deliver whatever information it is that they're looking for.
So it's not always about, every single marketing initiative directly translating into a signed client. I mean,
Correct.
obviously, you have two different personas per se. You have
Mhm.
actual clients that want work, and then you have these partnerships that you're participating in, which I would love to get into in just a moment.
Sure.
And so it becomes what are the things that support the journey to each of these, right? And everything
Mhm.
isn't just for every blog post, I sign 5 clients. Okay, no, but I'm getting in front of and I'm dropping all these breadcrumbs so that I'm now searchable to get in front of potential brand partnerships.
Yeah.
Now,
And
how did you get into that space?
the brand
How was
partnership
that?
space. Okay. So I've never, that's not true. Last year was the first year I've ever pitched a brand.
Really?
Mhm. And the reason why I chose that particular brand is that I have done a lot of business with them, and they also have a fantastic product line. Well, they have a wide range of products that they sell, but I was really in love with their outdoor products. And I had an opportunity because we just bought a house last year to showcase their outdoor products. And I literally put together a full design plan just as I would have for a client, schedule a meeting with the director. And again, these are people that I see because I go to trade shows, I go to their showroom in High Point, I interact with them on social. So it's not like the Erica who, it's because
Right.
we really cultivated a true relationship, not something just based on my personal need. I do business with them. So long story short, prior to that, I've just been, pegged for those type of things via email, or they'll send me a DM on Instagram. And I think it's one of those things where he said, how? So when you are presenting yourself and your brand, you got to do it in such a way that these other brands don't mind attaching themselves to you. And then they see the quality of work and the spirit in which you represent yourself, and they know you're not going to do anything less than that for them. I think the disconnect sometimes between business to business is that these brands also work with individuals who may not be business owners per se in the same space that I am. And it's like I have to kind of remind them as well that I'm taking time out of Erika Ward Interiors to promote a business that they have. And we also have to be compensated for that. It's not compensation is not, you know, a free vase or a pillow or a picture. You know what I mean? And that's the only kind of challenge that I would say we've had to kind of overcome. And which, if it's not a good fit for them budget wise, then they can, so many other people out here they can work with, but then I've had people come back to the table and say, okay, so we found some money.
I was about to say, we found some money. Oh, weird. Look at that.
But then also I'm able to not just articulate, but put on paper what it is they're going to receive from me
Right.
and the level of quality that they're going to receive, and be able to reuse this content. And I make it evergreen, that it doesn't matter what time of the year it is, or except for that outdoor feature, talking more
Mhm.
about entertaining in the summer. And I did a little bit of fall too, but to my point, it's like it's not just what's in it for them, it's what's in it for me and them. How can we both make this thing make sense, right? and what it is that I bring to the table aside from my persona, if you will.
Yeah, and I'm sure that first thing they're doing is going to look through your social and your website and getting
Mhm.
even just a glimpse of your level of quality in terms of content creation. So it
Yeah.
all kind of circles back to what you as a brand, personal and professional,
Mhm.
decide to invest into your online brand presence, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So this is going to be a two-part question. When it comes to integrating tech into your process, whether that be production, promotion, what have you, how do you still maintain a human touch? And are there any specific tech integrations you guys are looking at when it comes to AI?
Okay. Yeah. So the first touch point a client has is our website, and they're completing just a really short contact form, and they're scheduling for a discovery call. And the discovery call, they're speaking to a human being. So that's your first point of human interaction after you've talked to a computer, via this
Right.
contact form. And then after that, they either see me in person here in the studio or in their home. So most of the time, if it's ever virtual, it's because there may be an out of town client. But even like this morning, I had an out of town client. She lives in Oakland, but she came here so we could meet in person. So we use Zoom. I think everybody uses Zoom for the most part, Google Meet. I try to still have a good, human interaction, like person. We have clients come into the studio for presentations, but we're presenting them digital renderings, right?
Right. Okay.
Alongside tangible samples, we have tile samples, we've got fabric samples that go along with this digital presentation. So it's still, you've got this manual fabric, tile, textile, whatever in your hand, but then you're also looking at, we haven't used AR yet or AI in that sense, but we're doing 3D, three-dimensional renderings. And so that's been game changer for us and also for the client because we have pretty high dollar projects. And for those who can't close their eyes and visualize it like I can, we can illustrate it in a way that they can, sign on to whatever it is that we design for them and feel comfortable in doing so.
Gotcha. Now, are there any AI integrations that you foresee incorporating?
Um, I personally am not as up on the latest and greatest with AI as maybe as I should. I'm definitely open, right? So it's not that I haven't engaged because I'm not interested. It's just maybe making the time to see what's out there. And then also for me, because I said finding the time, I also would need to make sure that I can absorb any learning curve that goes along with figuring out how it all works, but I haven't had the clients demand that of us just yet. Because I think that's also important because if your clients aren't expecting that or demanding that from you, you can kind of skate a little bit with,
Right.
participating just yet. But unlike social media, I haven't been as early of an adopter to AI as I could.
Listen, we're knee deep in it, but it still requires some discernment because there's
Mhm.
always some new software or
Yeah.
program popping up, four, five, six, seven that do the same thing, that claim
Mhm.
different benefits. Well, you have to sit, or you should be doing your due diligence and sit down
Mhm.
and say, okay, how does this apply to, my actual clientele, or am I reacting to FOMO?
Mhm.
Because it's
Yeah.
all in your feed, right? You got a
Mhm.
feed full of these things. And if you click on
Yeah.
one, you get a bunch more of these ads or sponsored posts. So, but to your point, I think it's great to take a step back and say, is this something my clientele even wants? Or do I foresee them wanting right now? Because
Mhm.
you can't just throw it at them, or you
Right.
shouldn't, regardless of what your business is, it has to
Mhm.
be, a more organic fit.
Agreed. And then there's a part to that to where in my line of work, part of me actually let's say, drafting a room, it helps me to recall measurements and things like that. And I feel like if I'm using I miss those key points, those touch points in that project where it really helps me to understand the space that I'm working in, or
Right.
if it helps me to understand, the scale and the proportions of a room or a house for that matter. I see the convenience of course, kind of keying in some things again, like I told you, I know how it works, but keying in some measurements and they just boom, this room pops
Yeah.
up. I it There's no experience for me. The journey is gone of me sitting
Mm,
there and constructing this space the way that I think it needs to go. It may work for some, but for me, it's kind of it would maybe take some of the joy I experience in my design process. Well, we'll see. Ask me
that's
again in
interesting.
6 months.
Ask- right. Let's all be asked that question in 6 months.
Yeah.
My goodness, things are moving so fast. Okay, so before we wrap, I would like to know what is coming up for Erika Ward Interiors. Are there any big projects or any launches or anything that you can share that's coming up and that you're excited about?
Yes, so I can kind of touch back on just writing a vision for your company, writing the vision. And I've written the vision, and a lot of the things that I've written in the past have come into fruition. So now I'm in the period of time in my life where I have to write a new vision. And that new vision is kind of actually happening even without me putting pen to paper, but I can only imagine how much more it'll come together after I put pen to paper. But to answer your question, we're looking more into doing second homes, whether it be vacation homes or just secondary properties, because we have clients that, work in 2 states. And like I said, we have repeated customers. And so those people that are coming back are also building accommodations or renovating their parents' homes. So we're
Mm,
actually, yeah. So now I feel the need to actually kind of maybe do a little bit more study about aging in place and what that looks like.
'cause I'm sure
And
that will impact construction or
oh,
design and layout, right? Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
I've had a couple people ask me about tiny homes to put in the back of their own homes. And so what I see that I absolutely love, and we are also participants in, is the reemergence of multi-generational households. And like I'm seeing it more and more often. I don't know if it's because now my grandmother lives with me that it's more apparent to me, or that maybe God is bringing more of those people, into our studio. But it's really exciting to just then kind of cultivate a house for just everyone in mind. It's different than just a home with a young family and a few kids, or just, a couple with no kids. But now you're also thinking about this aging parent and how can they live in this house and feel just as if everything is, that they've been thought of, you know, with every
Wow.
decision, every discussion made. So we're continuing talking about making the home a sanctuary, second homes, and thinking about kind of the multi-generational household.
That's exciting, Erica. I haven't
Yeah.
thought about that. My grandparents are deceased, and but I do remember at the end of my grandmother, sort of the tail end of her like care was an issue. Where will she live once, if you have an elder that they can't live on their own,
Right.
you're either looking at a facility or they move in with you. And like, I think you're doing I think it's a tremendous vision to even consider that. I've never heard that being a focal point for an interior designer. It's kind of like, yeah, first house, second house, but strict, like zeroing in on something
Mhm.
that a lot of people are coming to terms with is
Mhm.
like, oh, wow, I never thought about that. Like building in
Mhm.
mind or renovating in mind of, okay, maybe in 5 to 7 years, mom or dad has to come and stay with us. And how
Mhm.
can we make that very comfortable for them?
And even a small example of this would be like in a bathroom renovation, we'll reinforce some of the walls by the toilet and
Mhm.
in the shower. So if at some point in time you ever want to install a grab bar, we don't have to demo the tile to put that
Mm,
reinforcement in there. It's already in there. That's just an example
right.
of some of the kind of things they're thinking about Or if someone's having a new construction, we might have two primary suites on the main floor because you're thinking about potentially someone having to come live with you. They need to also have a space that's accessible for them. But in the case of my grandmother, I mean, she's an active participant parent in our house. You know, she's not there for us to care for her. She's there because she wants to be around, you know, her great, at least her great grandkids, her great grandkids growing up. She wants to help out, you know, so she's in the trenches just as much as my husband.
She's in the mix.
Listen, come on in. There's room for everyone. There's something for
I
everyone
love it.
here.
Everybody has a job. I've seen you
Everybody got
post
a
about
job.
that. Everybody has a
Mhm.
job in this house.
Yeah.
Well, that is absolutely incredible, Erica. I'm so glad we had this time to talk, and we'll certainly have to catch up offline. But I really appreciate you sharing your vision, your journey. This has been an incredible interview. That's going to wrap the show for today. Thank you to our incredible guest, Erika Ward, CEO and Principal Interior Designer of Erika Ward Interiors. We will have contact information for Erika Ward Interiors in the show notes for anyone interested in their services. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.